I'm trying to help you tonight. Weakness is in my hand, but strength is in his hand. Defeat is in my hand, but victory is in his hand. Deficiency is in my hand, but sufficiency is in his hand. Distractions are in my hand, but direction is in his hands. Disturbance is in my hand, but delight is in his hand. Sorrow is in my hand, but joy is in his hand. Depression is in my hand, but deliverance is in his hand. Despair is in my hand, but hope is in his hand. Doubt is in my hand, but certainty is in his hand. Fears are in my hand, but favor is in his hand. Setbacks are in my hand, but comebacks are in his hands. Downfalls are in my hands, but an uprising is in his hand. Look at your neighbor and say, you need to reconnect with God through prayer. All right. All right. Let me get out of here. Can I tell you something else about prayer? I remember being in high school and I started taking weightlifting. I wasn't as big as I am now. Small. I was about 125 pounds. Yeah, can you believe that? And so we were paired off in groups in the weight training class. And so me and my friends, we started out lifting the weights, and small, scrawny little boys, 9th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade. And so we psych one another out. And then we would slap each other on the chest and encourage one another. I said, you can do it, you can do it. And we get down there, and we started with the 45-pound bar and 25 on each side of the bar. And we lift that, and we do reps with that. And after we mastered that, we'd take the 20, we'd add a 5 or 2.5 or 5 for some of us. And after we mastered that, we'd take that 2.5 and that 5-pound off, and we put a 10-pound on. And after we mastered that a couple times, we add another 10. And so as the class went on, we got stronger. Muscles began to develop. But then when we had to test out of the class and find out what our maximum weight was that we could bench press, we would take the 25s. By this time we've graduated from 25s on each end to 45s on each end, and 145 on each end, and the bar was 135 pounds, and then we'd put a 25, and then we'd take that off and put a 35, and then we'd put 2 45s on each end, and the bar that was 225 pounds. And the goal of each fellow was to be able to at least lift your weight and double that. Have I gotten the help in here? And so we would psych ourselves out, and every now and then when we got ready to lift weight that was above, that was at the level that we could lift and higher, we would psych each other out, and we would encourage one another, and we say, you can do it, you can do it, come on, you got to push it, you got to push. And so we get down on that bench, and we lift that weight up off that bar, and we bring that weight down on our chest, and we bounce it, and we get it about a quarter of the way, and then we turn and shift our body and use our feet for leverage, and we get it about halfway, and by that time somebody's arms was shaking a little bit, and we wouldn't take the weight off, but there was a guy standing over you, and he was called the spotter. Come on, I'm getting ready to shut this thing down. And you know what your spotter would do? Your spotter would stand over you, and he would simply just put his hands on the bar and just give it a little pull. And that gave you enough strength to push it up a few more inches. And when you stop, come on, hit me. And when you stop there, he would but so he give you another pull, and that gave you a little more strength to push it up a few more inches. And all I'm trying to say is, in the life of every believer, we got a spotter, and his name is... Oh, I wish I had somebody in here. Lean over and look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, you don't have to break down before you break through. You don't need to throw in the towel. This ain't the time for you to give up on God. Wait on the Lord and be of good courage. Somebody here knows that if you wait on him, he'll strengthen your heart. Have I got a witness here? Look at somebody, put your arm around your neighbor and say, God has given you the power to hang in there. My Bible says that they that wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They'll mount up with wings as eagles. They'll run and not be weary. They'll walk and not faint. Have I got a witness? What happens to us? God gives us the strength and the energy to rise. Look at your neighbor and say, God has given you the strength and the energy to rise above your rise. Yeah, ought to be somebody here that know God has given you strength and energy. Look at your neighbor and say, he's given you the strength to rise above people, to rise above perplexities, to rise above your peril, to rise above your plight, to rise above your pain, to rise above your predicament, to rise above pressure, pretense, and provocation, to rise above situations, storms, struggles, trials, tribulations, traps, burdens, and betrayal, blame, breakdown, and barriers. I gotta leave you here. But is there anybody here that's got strength? Is there anybody here that's got energy? Have I got a witness? There's one last thing. He's giving you power to give him praise. I wish I had some help. Is it anybody here that want to give him praise? Is it anybody here that can look back over your life, see how good God has been to you? Yes, yes. Lean over and tell your neighbor, praise will bring you out. Praise will bring you through. Don't shut down and don't break down before you break through. Can I tell you why? Because he brought you through too much to leave you right now. Is there anybody here? Yeah. That can say he brought me through too much to leave me right here. I don't care. Stars may rise. I don't care. Winds may blow. Put your arm around somebody else and say, neighbor, be not dismayed. Whatever betide, God will. God will. God will. Won't he take care of you? Say yeah. Say yeah. Say yeah. He will. He will.